If you're someone who's thinking about relocating in retirement, then this video is for you because that is exactly what I did to accelerate my retirement. And although there was some good that came out of it, I generally would not recommend it. So before you make any big life decisions, watch this video. And if you have relocated for retirement, I would love to know your experience as well. Please share them in the comments because this is something I think we can all learn from. And if you're new here, welcome. My name is Karen. I am talking all things retirement because it is what I've been obsessed with for almost 10 years now. And I am at the point where I can retire and I'm dipping my toe in the water, doing little experiments, and that's what I talk about here on this channel. But I want to tell you about something that my husband and I did, a major life shift to accelerate that retirement timeline, which in some ways was good and in many ways was not good. So let's get into that right now. A little bit of backstory. Retirement became the bug in my ear in 2017 when I listened to a podcast with Tim Ferriss and Mr. Money Mustache. I learned what the FIRE movement was, financial independence, retire early, and I could not think of anything else after that point because I really didn't want to be working anymore. And after that day, I changed a lot of things about how we spent money, where we went, what we did, because I was like the spender in the house. And I know it sounds bad, but I was the one who, bought the groceries and those sort of things, right? Like I was the household spender. So I had a lot of autonomy to do a lot of things to save money without my husband even really, being aware of it. And I did a lot of great things, but the idea to move location was something we did that I have mixed feelings about in the long run. We were living in the Bay Area in California at the time and working very hard, making good money, but our cost of living was high. Like the Bay Area is not cheap and we weren't living a fancy lifestyle by any stroke of the word. Housing is just very expensive. And I got this bee in my bonnet about moving to Austin, as a lot of Californians had, even in this earlier time before it became really fashionable, because you could buy so much more house there, and Austin was a great city, and there was just so much to do there, and I couldn't believe how much house you could buy there. And I thought this is just the best thing to do. And at the time, my husband had left his corporate job and was doing a startup, and I was consulting. So we had a lot of freedom, and it was the perfect time for us to shift our situation such that we were reducing our spending dramatically by moving out of the Bay Area. So off to Austin we went in the summer of 2019, right before 2020. And the first 6 months in Austin were fantastic because we were going out and exploring the city and meeting new people, some people, not a lot of people, but we were getting ourselves out there and really just enjoying Austin. And then the next year in March, the world shut down, right? And that took a long time for us personally as a couple to recover from. My husband had a heart issue, so he was considered a high-risk person and really couldn't be out and about when people were starting to be out and about. So we kept to ourselves for like the better part of 2 years. And that, I feel, really changed me as a person. And obviously, that's hopefully a once in a lifetime event that you may not deal with as well. But I also learned a lot more about myself during that time, not just related to, 2020 and everything that happened then. I learned that if you are not going out to a job every day, which we weren't, we were both working from home, and you don't have kids where, you have to go to their football games and stuff, or you don't have clubs, or you don't have an existing social group, the place that you are going to, you literally have no reason to leave the house. Okay? You can have your groceries delivered, you can have your, clothes delivered, Amazon all day long, and you never have to leave your house. And if you don't have to leave your house, then, you don't need to get ready. You can just kind of bum around in your PJs or shorts and a t-shirt all the time. I call this my pants optional lifestyle. And sometimes that's really good. But if you do that every day, it starts to get not so good. You become isolated. And the longer you don't go out, the harder it becomes to rally and get yourself to go out, and the more isolated you become. And one thing I do know is that as folks age and as they retire and stop going to work and things like that, their lives become socially smaller. And I felt that at an accelerated rate when we went to Austin, just because everything that happened in the world. And realizing that had a profound effect on me. Number one, I realized that if I am not around people and I don't have structure to keep me social, I won't be social. I'm not an antisocial person by any means, but I would call myself socially lazy. So if the structure isn't there, I have a hard time forcing myself to do it. And the other thing that I realized is I was at the point not ready to retire, even though I could have when we made that move, because what was I going to do with myself? I realized at that point that it wasn't that I just wanted to leave work. It was that I wanted to find something that I was passionate about, but I still wanted to work. I wanted to keep my brain focused on something. I wanted to be productive, and I still had so much more creative energy potential that I knew at that point I wasn't going to retire. So I let the early retirement piece go for the time being, even though financially I could have done it. And that's when I started my small business. Fast forward to 2025, we're still in Austin, but if we want to be social, if we want to see our friends, if we want to do the things we like to do, like go out and hike and be near the ocean and not be chased down by giant tarantula-sized bugs, then we actually have to leave the state to do that. That's why we come to California. And when we do so, we have a dog, so we have to drive, and we come for several months at a time. So we're kind of almost living in two states, although Texas is still our primary home for now, until we sell and come back to California or do something else instead. So my takeaway in that experience, even though I don't regret it, is that you really need to know what you're relocating to and have structure built, especially if you're socially lazy like me. But even if you're not socially lazy, even if you're someone who really likes to get out there, if there's no existing structure to put yourself out there, it can take some time to get there. And it can be very lonely and isolating when you no longer have a job. So there's no longer opportunity for you to see people on a daily basis, and you no longer have any reason to put pants on and leave the house, especially if you're moving to a state where the climate is not conducive to the things that you like to do, which we have learned is the case with Texas. I love Austin. Austin is a great city, but it's very hot. There's a lot of bugs, and people generally aren't out in the middle of the afternoon at all. You're either out in the morning or you're out at night, and everybody stays in their air-conditioned homes and offices for the majority of the day, which I like being out during the day. I like sunshine, I like going for walks and hikes, and the daytime is the best time for me. At night, I like to be curled up on the couch with a glass of wine and go to bed early, and my husband's pretty much the same. So here's what I would say to anyone who's thinking of relocating to either retire or to accelerate retirement. Really think hard about the place that you are going. Does it match your lifestyle? Are there people there that you already know? And is there a structure that you can drop into? And if the answer is no, it doesn't mean that it's a bad idea, but I would highly recommend testing it out. I wish that we had gone to Austin for like 5 or 6 months and just tested out living there. I don't think 3 months would have been long enough because the novelty of a place is still intact at the month 3. It's month 5, month 6 when you start to get into a real rhythm of life and see if the vibe is for you or not. And had we done that, I'm not saying that we wouldn't have left our Bay Area home, because I think I was ready for that anyway. But there was a number of other places we could have went that would have been far better for us from a lifestyle and social perspective without putting ourselves in a position of being completely isolated. I will say being in our home during the whole pandemic period was actually quite nice because we had a lot more space. We had a pool, we had our own little gym set up. But once that period was over, we felt like it became a bit of a prison and not the expansive space that we wanted to have. So I don't know who needed to hear that, who's thinking about that in this moment, but definitely think long and hard about what you are relocating to and make sure there's enough there that you can have a soft landing and maybe not feel like you have to recreate your life from the ground up. And then, of course, the other thing that we really didn't think about was when you leave a high cost of living area to go to a lower cost of living area, If you want to go back, it is really hard to go back, both from a mindset perspective and from a real dollar figure perspective. I guess we really didn't think about whether or not we would ever want to go back, but obviously that is ultimately our goal. And it is going to cost us a lot more money to come back to California. Now, fortunately for us, we have decided that when we sell our home in Austin and move here or wherever else we decide to go, we will probably rent, maybe for the rest of our lives. I have owned several houses. I've always done well in real estate, but I don't know if that's true anymore. And also, specific to California and a lot of other areas, there's just so much fire risk here now. I don't know if it makes sense for us to buy. I would be quite comfortable renting for the rest of my life and having the optionality to move wherever I want to go ever again. So that cost of living adjustment was not something we had considered, and is definitely something I encourage you to think about, because you never know how you're going to feel in year 2 or year 3 of living in your new area if you've never lived there before. So those are my thoughts on relocating around the time of retirement. I would love to know from you guys, are you thinking of relocating? Did you relocate? Was it a good choice? Was it not a good choice? I would love to hear everybody's opinion on this, because obviously not everyone feels the same way I do. But I feel like when we share these stories and experiences, it just gives us more to think about. So thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.